Hi everyone, Rene Bastarache here. A few days ago, one of our members, Carolyn, asked a question on our AIA Hypnosis and Self-Help Forum. And the question was about sessions. How long should sessions be? Now, she got quite a bit of response, but I think this is such an important issue that I wanted to tell you the question, tell you the answers that she got, give you my opinion, and also a great form, a cheat sheet that I developed that can help all of you. Here's what Carolyn had to say. Question for practicing hypnotists. How long does the actual hypnosis portion of your session last? I mean induction, deepener, script, and awakening. Aside from talking with the clients before and after, how long does it take? Mine seems to be quite brief, so I'm concerned that there's something I am neglecting. Thank you. Great question. Now, the first answer came from Mindy, and Mindy says, it depends. 30 to 60 minutes in general for me. Smoking cessation is usually the fastest for me, around 25 to 30 minutes. Now we're talking for the session alone. Past life regression is my longest one because I keep going from memory to memory endlessly depending on what script I use. So that's a really great answer. That would be one of the first things I would have said as well. So let's continue. Then Victoria had to say, ballpark estimate, most of my sessions run about 50 minutes. Great. And Carrie says, I agree with Mindy. It depends. Mine are usually 30 to 45 minutes, but if your clients are getting what they need, then I'd say don't worry. Very important. Are your clients getting what they need? Jerome says it depends. One of my mentors does hypnosis sessions that last less than 10 minutes, okay? Now, I want to talk on that for a second. Less than 10 minutes. You know, a hypnosis session, an effective hypnosis session, can easily be done in less than 10 minutes. However, your clients have preconceived notions when they come into the session of what a hypnosis session should be like. At least most of them do. And if you're done in 10 minutes, they're only going to want to give you 10% of the money, okay? Who wants to pay you for an hour session if you're only there for 10 minutes? Even though it can be done, it can be effective, that doesn't matter. They have an idea of what it should be like. So you need to make it longer. Now, Chad said, maybe I'm missing something too. Mine seems to be on the shorter end of the spectrum. For me, the actual hypnosis session typically ranges from 20 to 35 minutes, depending on what we're working on. Great. Now, all of those answers are super, and I gave my answer, which was rather lengthy, so I'm going to put it in a nutshell. In my response, your session should be about 50-50, 50% the pre-session and the post-session, and then 50% the session itself. As an average, there's always reasons why there might be longer or shorter. And I agree with what Mindy said at the beginning is something like smoking or smoking or let's say nail biting or bedwetting, that might only take 25 to 30 minutes, whereas any kind of exploratory thing such as past life regression or any kind of regression or even healing can go quite a bit. Matter of fact, I did a forensic hypnosis once where I was trying to help the gentleman find his car. Long story, but basically it took us an hour in session alone. And we went back and forth and up and down, but we actually found where he lost his car, actually in the southern part of Philadelphia. So it was a pretty interesting situation. So again, that's rare you would go that long, but some of them are longer, some of them are shorter. And also what I mentioned in Jerome's comment is clients do have a preconceived notion of what to expect. If they didn't, you can have them come in and probably in 10 minutes or less, give them a great session because the suggestion is what matters. So if they accept the suggestion, everything else is okay. But clients do have, a feeling of what it should be like. They're nervous, so you have to calm them down. So there's a pre-session as well. Unfortunately, a lot of practitioners cut corners when they're doing sessions for different reasons. But the major ones I find is, number one, they might be new. Because I know when we have brand new practitioners practicing, they have a list with them of all the different pre-session things they should do. And let's say there's like 12, 13 different items, and they probably do 2 of them just so they can get to the session. And when you're starting your own practice, it's the same thing. You might be nervous, you got a client, you're trying to really be professional and do a great job, that you just fumble right through your pre-session and get into the session, and you speak a little faster during your session, and all of a sudden, it's over, okay? So number one reason is because you're nervous and you're new. And the second reason, unfortunately, is because a lot of people out there didn't get the proper training and really don't know much about what they should include in a pre-session. So rather than going on and on about this, what I've decided to do is share with you something I've been working on, and this is my hypnosis session guide. Now, this is a hypnosis session guide that shows you everything that should be included in your pre-session, everything that should be included in the post-session. So you can actually download this and use it yourself, and I'll have the information on where to get it in the description below this video. But what you're going to do is get a form like this, so you would fold it in half so you don't have post and pre-session on the same form. So you would fold it in half, and on the inside you basically have all the different items, the 13 different items for the pre-session, described a little further. So here's your cheat sheet, and again, it's just an 8.5 by 11 form, so you can fold it in half and put it right on your clipboard, and as you're speaking to your client, you can look down. You could even check it off if you want to make a bunch of them, write on it with a pen, so you know what you did, you know what's coming next, and you don't skip any steps. You're going to find that if you do the complete pre-session the way it should be done, your session is going to be better. You ever notice how sometimes you do a session and at the end people have so many questions, or before you start the session, people have so many questions? If you do your pre-session properly, the more you do in your pre-session, the more of these items you cover, the less questions you're going to have in your session, because you've covered them. The whole idea is to cover the things that they're curious about. And basically, if you go through the pre-session and post-session the way I have them, you're probably going to be looking at about a half an hour for the pre-session and post-session. Then if you do a half hour for your, let's say, a normal session, could be more if it's longer, okay, now you have your hour session, which is what they're expecting to pay for. Give you an idea, for the pre-session, number one is preparing for the session. I'm just going to run through these because if you want to read them and see the description, you can go ahead and download it. Number two is the meet and greet. 3 is the intake sheet. You would fill out the top half. The disclosure form. The common misconceptions, you'd go over with them. Explaining to them how the mind works. Doing 2 to 3 suggestibility tests, and as I'm going through these, see how many of them you're doing and how many you're missing. Matter of fact, leave it in the comments below so we can see. Number 8 is explaining the results of your suggestibility test. If you just do suggestibility tests and don't tell them the results, they're going to think you're trying to do a comedy hypnosis show. So let them know the results, which will really help with the buying in principle. They're going to go, wow, this person really understands my mind, because that's the purpose of it. Number 9, you would then finish the questionnaire. Number 10, tell them what to expect in the session. Number 11, preparing them for the session to get ready to go. Number 12, getting the proper forms together, what you're going to need to actually hypnotize them with, because sometimes as you're speaking to them, you're realizing, wow, this person doesn't really need what I thought he needed, and the forms that you had probably weren't the right ones, so you might have to swap them a little bit. And number 13, of course, is conducting the session. And like I said, on the inside, it'll explain all that. And on the back, I have the post-hypnosis session. It's important that you do a few things when they come out of hypnosis to be able to help them to realize how well it worked and what happened. And this will also eliminate, you know how sometimes people will go through the session, they feel great afterwards, 2-3 days later they still feel good, then about 5 days later they call you up and say, I don't think this thing worked. And when they come to see you, they go, oh, I don't know, I'm smoking again. These questions or these steps will help to eliminate that. Number 1 is your initial question upon opening their eyes, the time distortion question. Number 2, post-session report form. There's actually a form where you're going to ask them questions about what they felt, what they experienced. So if they say, I don't think I was in hypnosis a few days down the road, you can say, oh, remember you said this, remember you felt that, remember that was hypnosis. Number 3, repeat any instructions or post-hypnotic suggestions that you had for them during the session. Number 4, giving them any assignments or session goals. So if you have a goal for something for them to do before next week or during the week or doing their self-hypnosis throughout the week, okay? Number 5, post-session sales. If you have anything to sell, if you have an office, you might have metaphysical items or books or CDs or MP3s, okay? You can bring them over to that desk and have them stand there while you're getting ready for them to pay and they can see what you got. Number 6, collecting the fees. Number 7, and you don't want to forget 6, collecting the fees. Hey, if nothing else, remember that one. Number 7, scheduling your next appointment. Okay, it's important to schedule the next appointment so they know when it is and make sure that they can come. And number 8, any kind of networking, you know, asking for leads, giving your cards out, this kind of thing here. So that is the hypnosis session guide, or cheat sheet as I call it, and it'll be in the description below the video telling you where to go to get it. And when you go to that page, we have some other surprises for you there as well. So I hope this helped you to understand how a session should be done, about how long it should be. Maybe it gave you some ideas of things that you might be missing that would lengthen your session, especially if you only have like a 20 or 30-minute session altogether. But if you're doing about a half an hour preliminary and you're doing about a half an hour session, you're right on track, so don't worry about it. Oh, and the other things that's important, okay, I spoke to you about the pre-session and the post-session, but the session itself, be sure you include your 5 steps, okay, which are your induction, your depth test, your deepener, your session, the scripts, and the awakening. Be sure you do those 5 steps and you're all set. That's going to keep you going for about a half an hour for a session. And of course, the most important is the scripts, okay, number 4, the session. Because I've seen sessions, especially in practice, where somebody will do a great induction, a great deepener. We're into this like 20 minutes now, great depth test. And they get to the session and all they said was, you will quit smoking. And then they go to the awakening. Okay, it's kind of a letdown. You get this build up, build up, build up. You get to the script and it's 1 sentence. I mean, the script doesn't need to be long, but it needs to be as long as it's going to take to get the person to change. So figure you're dealing with a person that has a 5-year-old subconscious, because that's what it's similar to, a 5-year-old child. So you want to give suggestions that are simple, that are clear and powerful for them to follow. But if you just say you will quit smoking, they don't know how, what they're going to do, when they're going to do it. There's an awful lot more that still needs to be said. So I hope that helped to answer your question, Carolyn, and any of you out there watching this that also had similar questions. If you did find this information helpful, I'd appreciate it if you can go ahead and share it with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe below. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.